To start off the second half of the lesson, I just want to remind everyone of the chart that we made last time. Was talking about like x squared, y squared, y squared, x squared, y squared, positive, negative, in which way everything opens. Pranked. Okay, so vertical is with x squared, and that's up and down, and so the equation format for that is going to be 4p times y minus k equals x minus h squared. Now for y squared, we got positive, we got negative, and we got 4p times x minus h equals y minus k squared. So that's from last time. So here is an example for you, is that we're still going to be writing the equation. Here, maybe I'll just write down the instructions. Write the equation of the parabola. And you'll be given something like the vertex is at 2, 7, and the focus is at 2, 9. Okay, so when you are given something like this, here's what I want you to know. If you are writing the equation, we really only need to know 3 things. So the first thing that you're going to need to know is the direction of opening. Because that's going to tell us, do I need x squared? Do I need y squared? Is it positive? Is it negative? The second thing we're going to need is the vertex, the HK. And the third thing we're going to need is the only thing in these equations that hasn't been accounted for at this time, which is P, aka the distance from the vertex to the focus or directrix. If you can get these 3 things, then you'll be able to write the equation, and it's actually not too bad. So let's take a look at our example down here. All right, to decide which way it opens, I just plot the points. It doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be anything. So for example, I'm just going to call this 2, and this is going to be 7. There's my vertex. My focus is at 2, 9. And something that I'm hoping that we're aware of at this point is that the focus is always inside the parabola. Okay, so because the focus is inside, I know that it's going to open this way. So that means if it's opening up, we're going to have a positive x squared. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing is our vertex. Well, hey, we got that. Vertex is 2, 7. And as far as P being this distance, well, how far is it to get from 7 to 9? That is 2. So I know that P equals 2. And for our equation, we're going to need to multiply that by 4, which gives me 8. Oh, sorry. Okay, so now we're just going to take all the information that we know. I'm going to follow this equation format because y is opening up. So 4p I know is 8. Y opposite of k, which is negative 7, equals x minus 2 squared. And that's all it takes. So it's honestly not too bad. It would have been bad if it was smushed into the same lesson as 10.1, which is what I was trying to do originally. So thank you, online schooling, for making me reevaluate my priorities, because now it makes a lot more sense. All right, let's do another example. Let's do something a little bit more challenging. Spice it up. So let's say our vertex is going to be -1, -10. And the focus, here, let's actually move it down so I have a little bit more room for another example. Focus is at -17/4, -10. Okay, so remember, we're looking for three things. Which way does it open? What is the vertex? What is the value of P? Well, let's sketch it out. I know that my vertex, let's call that -1, and that can be -10. There's my vertex. Well, the focus, -17/4. Honestly, I would just type that in your calculator. -17 divided by 4. And I believe it's a -4.25. In fact, I'm positive it's a -4.25. So, if that is a -4.25, that's going to be like up here somewhere. I made a mistake. Can you tell me what my mistake is? Here's my mistake. That's an x value. So -4.25 should be along x. So it's going to be -4.25. That -10 stays the same. So it is opening to the left. If it opens to the left, I can take a look at my handy dandy chart and I see, oh, the left, that's going to be a -y². Okay, so I have the direction of opening. The vertex is -1, -10. That's helpful because that's H and that's K. I'm just going to write down the equation. Just kidding. I'll get to that in a second. Can you tell it's my first take? Okay, and so P is the distance to get from the vertex to the focus. So, how far is it to get from -1 to -4.25? Well, we can find distance through subtraction. -1 minus a -4.25. It's going to tell me how far it is in between them. And I should get, because it's -1 plus 4.25. And I believe we get a 3.25, positive 3.25. Yep. Which means that 4p is what we need for our equation, which is going to be 13. So here's the general equation that I'm going to be looking at. Let's see, y is being squared, so x is over here. So we start with 4p, so we get 13 times x opposite of h, which is going to be a +1, equals y opposite of k, which is going to be a +10, all that quantity being squared. Okay, if you have questions about that, please feel free to just shoot me an email. We can talk about it. Here's another example. Maybe I give you the vertex is at -3, and my directrix is at y equals 9/4. Okay, well, let's think about this. I need to decide the direction of opening, the vertex, and the distance from the vertex to the focus or the directrix. So let's talk about direction of opening. Sketch it out. To -3. Like I said, it doesn't have to be pretty. Y equals 9/4. Let's make that. I'm actually going to switch it so it's a little bit more manageable for us. I want that to be an x equals 9/4. Okay, so take note, I changed the directions to x equals 9/4. Well, x equals 9 over 4 is a horizontal line. And 9 over 4, if I was to type that in my calculator, I'm going to get 2.25, which is going to be like, I've decided it's going to be there. Remember, if the focus is inside the parabola, this means the parabola opens away from the vertex. So that means this parabola has to open away from the directrix. Oh my gosh, I put away from the vertex. They kind of sound the same in my defense. From the directrix. There we go. Okay, point is I see that this is opening to the left, which means I'm going to have a negative y squared. I have my vertex up there, and now p is the distance. Okay, so what is the distance between 2 and 0.25? Well, that's just 0.25. And I could do that through subtraction. If I could do 2 minus 2.25, negative 0.25. Honestly, because we know that we're going to have this negative with our y squared, because it opens to the left, it doesn't really matter if you get p as positive or negative, because we know that we're already going to have that negative. So that is a minor detail. So we're going to focus on p being 0.25. That makes 4p equal to 1. So our equation becomes 1 times x opposite of h, which is 2, which equals y opposite of k, which gets plus 3, all of that quantity being squared. And we don't need to have that 1 there because 1 times anything is just itself. And there you go for that. Okay, like I said, if you have questions, feel free to email me. We could talk about it. We just have one last example that we need to do. This time I'm going to give you the focus. I'm going to go negative 37 over 4, 7. And I'm going to give you the directrix, which is x equals negative 35 over 4. Okay. Here's what we know. Well, we could draw it out and convert those to decimals, for heaven's sakes. Ain't nobody got time for fractions. Okay, I'm going to pull out my calculator. 37 divided by 4. So this gets me a negative 9.25. And 35 divided by 4 gives me an 8.75. So if I just draw it, call this 7. This is going to be negative 9.25. There's my focus. That one's going to be negative 8.75. It's x equals, so it's a horizontal line. There's my directrix. That means the vertex is in there. So this opens to the left again. So we got a negative y squared. Also means my general form is going to be 4p times x minus h equals y minus k quantity squared. Okay. Something else we should know. The vertex is halfway between the focus and the directrix. So that means my vertex has got to be there. Can you tell me what that vertex coordinate is going to be? Well, halfway between 9.25 and negative 8.75 turns out is negative 8. And by that, I definitely meant negative 9. Pranked, gotcha, were you paying attention? First take, hashtag first take. We're going to make that a thing. Okay, so vertex here is at negative 9. And notice the y-coordinate didn't change, so that's a 7. Cool. And I know that, well, the distance between either of those two is 0.25, which means 4p equals 1 again. So using all of this information, I'm going to have a negative, and then I'm going to have x opposite of h, which is going to be positive 9 squared equals, no, it's not squared, sorry. Oh my gosh, I'm falling apart. Hashtag first take. Y opposite 7 squared. I'm also realizing, here's a question, where did that negative come from? It comes from that negative right there. Which means, in our previous one, this should actually be a negative out here because, once again, that should be a negative y squared. So if you already sent me an email about that, psych, I fixed it myself. Noticed my mistake. Okay, well, looks like that is the last slide. Thanks for bearing with me through our hashtag first take. And I hope that made sense to you. If it doesn't, just let me know and we can figure it out together.